Good evening. I hope you're doing alright tonight. Got a little fire going on. A little soothing, relaxing fireplace sound. It's not really fireplace. Hope it's not too loud. Don't think it should be. I should be able to be heard well enough. Alright. Well, today, this evening, tonight, I'm going to be doing some more bedtime stories. Yep, more bedtime stories. Get myself in the mood for some bedtime. So let's come over here. There we go. And we will be reading from the Children's Treasury again this evening. We'll pick up where we left off the other day. Let's see. The story of King Midas. I rearranged my lights so hopefully it doesn't look like there's the glare coming right from above now. I've got lights on the sides instead. I've still got some glare on these pages, but hopefully there's none on the camera now. So, King Midas. There once was a king named Midas who was very rich, but he was also very greedy. King Midas spent every day locked away in his vault counting his riches. There was nothing that King Midas loved more than adding up his precious treasury. King Midas had a beautiful daughter named Marigold. Marigold preferred to spend her days outdoors tending to the flowers in the palace garden. There was nothing Marigold loved more than the smell of beautiful roses. Every day, Marigold asked her father to visit her garden, but he refused to come outside. He was much too busy counting his glorious gold. One day, as King Midas counted the gold in his vault, a mysterious stranger appeared. The stranger told King Midas that he could give him the power to make everything he touched turn to glistening gold. Greedy Midas couldn't believe his ears. Yes, yes, I want the power to turn everything to gold. Very well, said the stranger. After sunrise, anything you touch will turn to gold. When the dawn's light finally appeared, King Midas reached to draw back the curtain, and it turned into solid gold. He ran from room to room, touching everything he could reach: tables, mirrors, candlesticks, paintings, and doors. Just like the mysterious stranger had promised, everything turned to gold. I have the magical touch of gold, he shouted the king. King Midas rushed from his castle to Marigold's garden, where he found her beautiful flowers. He laid his hands on one of her loveliest roses, and it turned from scarlet red to gold. How delightful! Marigold How delighted Marigold will be when she finds her flowers turned to gold, said the king as he continued to touch all the flowers in her garden. Marigold saw what her father was doing, and begged him to stop. How could you let this happen to my beautiful flowers? She sobbed. Please don't be sad, Marigold, said the king. Now you have the most beautiful flowers in the world because they are gold. Marigold still sobbed. The king confronted her by hugging her. The king comforted her by hugging her, but the hug turned Marigold to gold. King Midas was shocked at what had become of Marigold. His new power had turned into a curse instead of a blessing. The mysterious strangers appeared again. How do you like your new power? He asked. I loathe it, King Midas answered. I'll give you all of my gold if you can change everything back to the way it was before. I don't want your gold, said the stranger. I only wanted to teach you a lesson. Tomorrow everything will be as it was. The stranger disappeared. The next morning, just as he had said, everything was the way it had been. From that day forward, King Midas only spent his time doing things that really mattered, especially helping Marigold with her garden. Let's see, that was King Midas. So let's update the video with the first story, King Midas. Save. All right, first story. Now on to the next one. The Brownie of Blednock. I don't think I've ever heard this story. It was a quiet day in the village of Blednock when everyone heard a soft humming sound. As the humming got louder, the villagers lined the streets to find its source. The hum, it seemed, was coming from a little man walking straight into Blednock. Blednock. Maybe that's Blednock. As the little man approached, the villagers fell silent. They had never seen anything like him. Any work for Aiken Drum? Any work for Aiken Drum? The little man asked. What was Aiken Drum? No one seemed to know. The people were more curious than ever. So they gathered round their new visitor. Then Granny, the wisest woman in town, had something to say. Well, I think Aiken Drum is what our visitor calls himself, she announced. I believe he is a brownie. Yes, I am a brownie, said the little man. And I would like to work for the people of Blednock. The brownie continued, If I work here, you must understand that the ways of my people are very different from yours. In our land, we work only to make people happy, never for money or possessions. All I require is a place to sleep and something warm to drink at bedtime. I've heard of brownies are the best workers, Granny told her neighbors. And if there's a town that needs helping hand, it's Blednock. Granny took the brownie to the blacksmith, who agreed to let Aiken Drum sleep in his barn. He gave the brownie a simple horse's blanket on a bed of fresh hay. The blacksmith, who had met many brownies in his days, did not bring food or fancy pillows, and blankets to Aiken Drum. He knew that would anger the brownie, and he didn't want to upset the little man who had traveled so far to make people happy. By keeping his lodging plain, the blacksmith respected the brownie's wishes. At the end of the day, Granny brought the brownie something warm to drink. She too remembered Aiken Drum's simple needs. The townsfolk loved to spot the brownie working, but he did most of his work at night. Every morning, the blacksmith found the brownie's empty mug and the blanket folded neatly in a corner. He was always out working. Soon, all the people of Blednock were sharing stories about the magical work of the brownie. Everyone was grateful. Old Mother Jones reported that the brownie had cleaned her whole house and made her a pot of porridge for breakfast. The farmer told everyone about how the brownie led all of his sheep to the safety of the barn just before a sudden summer storm. More and more stories were being told of the good work that Aiken Drum had been doing in Blednock. The town was looking better than it ever had because of its new visitor. Any time that work needed to be done, Aiken Drum was there. The children of Blednock loved to play with Aiken Drum. Each day they crowded around the brownie, giggling and asking him to play games. Tell us a story, Aiken Drum. Teach us a song, Aiken Drum. Show us a dance, Aiken Drum. Aiken Drum would start a bonfire and tell stories and play with the children until the parents called them in for dinner. When the children went off to their houses, Aiken Drum went back to work. Everyone thought things around Blednock were better than ever, except for Miss Daisy Fane. I think things are unfair in this village. It's not right to let a brownie work so hard for so little. A neighbor disagreed. Aiken Drum believes that work should be done for the joy of making other people happy. He made it plain that he does not want money or possessions. But Miss Daisy didn't believe her neighbor. She decided to repay Aiken Drum for his hard work by making him a new pair of trousers. That night, Aiken Drum returned to the barn and saw the new trousers resting on his bed of hay. He knew that someone was trying to pay him, and he became very sad. His new friends had not respected his wish to be paid in simple kindness. He disappeared that very night. The next morning, The villagers searched far and wide for their friend, but he was nowhere to be found. No one knew why he had left, except for Miss Daisy Fane, who never disrespected the wishes of her friends from that day forward. I think that's the end of this one. Looks like it. The Brownie of Blednock. That was that story. Let's go ahead and add that to the stories we've read this evening, this night. The Brownie of Blednock. Story number 2 added. On to story number 3 now. The Emperor's New Clothes. Once upon a time, there was an emperor who loved clothes more than anything else. He selected the finest fabrics ever seen and hired the most talented tailors in his kingdom. Word of the emperor, who loved fine clothes, reached 2 thieves in a faraway land. They thought of a brilliant plan. "We can use the emperor's love for fine clothes to make ourselves rich," said one thief, "and we'll never have to sew a single stitch." There we go. Brilliant. The sneaky thieves introduced themselves to the emperor as expert tailors. The thieves told the emperor that their fabric was made from the finest strands of thread in all the world, and that it was magical. "Only the wisest people in the land will see the magical fabric," they said. "It will be invisible to fools and simpletons." The thieves opened their bag and carefully lifted something into the air. They held up their arms before the emperor. The emperor squinted. He saw nothing in their hands. Was he a fool? The emperor was embarrassed. So he said, "This is the most fantastic, beautiful fabric I have ever seen." The emperor ordered clothes made from the thieves' magical fabric, and he sent a royal servant to check on their work. The servant was stunned by what he didn't see. The tailors were weaving, cutting, and sewing fabric that was not there. Was he a fool? He could never let the emperor know. After many weeks, the thieves brought the emperor his new clothes. The emperor was sure the clothes were beautiful, even though he could not see them. He put the clothes on slowly, carefully, not to tear the tailor's expert stitching. Dressed in his new clothes, he had never felt more dashing. The emperor wanted to show off his new suit of clothes, so he called for a parade to honor the tailors who had sewn it. As the emperor marched through his kingdom, everyone saw that he was not wearing a fine suit at all. He was wearing his underwear. Everyone was afraid to tell the emperor, except for one small child. "Why isn't the emperor wearing any clothes?" he asked. The emperor heard the child, and everyone began to laugh. The thieves had tricked him. The emperor was not a fool because he couldn't see the fabric. He was a fool for not telling the truth. And that is the end of the emperor's new clothes. Let's go ahead and write that down on our list here. These stories are short. The emperor's, oh, let's spell it a little more correctly. New clothes. Clothes. And then update our list. Save. All right. Excuse me. And we'll go on to the next story. Our fourth bedtime story tonight. Paul Bunyan. Ooh, Paul Bunyan. Yes. And his Blue Ox Babe, right? Isn't that this story? When Paul Bunyan was a baby, he was the biggest infant anyone had ever seen. His parents spent all day, every day, finding food to feed him and sewing clothes to fit him. By the time Paul was 2 weeks old, he tipped the scales at more than 100 pounds. When Paul finally started to crawl, his booming baby steps caused an earthquake that shook everyone in town right out of their houses. In fear for everyone's safety, Mr. Bunyan took Paul deep into the woods and found him a cave to live in. He gave Paul an axe and a fishing rod and said goodbye. That night, Paul was so sad and lonely that he cried and cried. He cried so much that his tears turned into a great river that ran all the way to the ocean. As Paul grew and grew and grew, he was able to take care of himself with the tools his father left him. Every day, Paul chopped trees, caught fish, and explored the forest. One day, Paul heard a cry from beneath a snowdrift. He dug and dug and dug until he found a giant baby blue ox. The giant baby blue ox was so happy to be saved, he instantly became friends with Paul. Paul named the ox Babe, and from that day on, they went everywhere together. Every day, the two friends chopped and hauled enough wood to build 200 houses. Paul knew that folks downriver needed big, strong logs to build their homes, barns, and boats. As he floated every log he chopped to the sawmill for everyone to use. Because Paul could level an entire forest with one big swing of his axe and a mighty timber. It wasn't long before Paul and Babe ran out of forest to chop along the river. Because they loved to chop and haul logs so much, Paul and Babe decided to find new forests and new friends. Oh, there we go. Pretty soon, Paul and Babe found a logging camp full of lumberjacks. No one had ever seen such a big man or such a big ox before, and Paul wasn't used to seeing people so small. Most people were afraid of Paul, but not the hardy lumberjacks. One day Paul sneezed and almost blew every lumberjack clear out of the forest. Paul was afraid they'd ask him to leave, but instead, one of them offered Paul his bedsheet as a tissue. Paul was extremely grateful for the lumberjack's kindness. The lumberjacks were grateful for Paul, too. After a big flood, a swarm of 10-foot bees landed in the forest and stung all the lumberjacks. The bees buzzed all over the forest until Paul found a boat and loaded it with 2 tons of sugar. He sent the boat down the river, and the bees followed right after it. Paul had saved the day. For the rest of their lives, Paul and Babe helped lumberjacks float logs downriver. The next time you're in the woods, stop and listen. You might hear a far-off timber on the wind. That was a good story. I haven't read anything regarding Paul Bunyan since I was a little kid, a long time ago. I like that the stories in this book are short, but I also don't like that they're so short, you know? I'd almost like to read a longer story about some of these. Let's go ahead and add Paul Bunyan to our list of stories for tonight. Paul Bunyan. Save. Alright, let's keep on reading. If they're all just a few pages like this, we'll get a bunch of stories in tonight. Now, on to our next story. How it pays to sometimes be small. Long ago, in a village far away, there lived a beautiful young woman. Everyone admired her and wished to be close to her, especially Sundu, a proud and handsome antelope. One day, the young woman asked Sundu to fetch some honey from a tree. Happy to help the young woman he admired, Sundu found a honey tree and cut a long vine that he would use to hoist himself up to the hive. As big and strong as Sundu was, he could not reach it. Boloko, the ape, watched as Sundu tried and failed to get to the young woman to get the young woman some honey. Let's read it right. Because Boloko also admired the young woman, he decided that he would try to get the honey. But when Boloko climbed up the tree, he did not have the strength to reach the hive. As hard as he tried, Boloko could not collect the honey. Oh. Come on now, pages. Cooperate, please. There we go. A small mouse in the field had been watching Sundew and Beloko climb the tree. They were both very big and very strong, but the small mouse knew that sometimes being smaller made things easier. The small mouse also admired the young woman, so he decided that he would be the one to climb the tree and bring her honey. Very carefully and very slowly, the little mouse climbed up the tall tree to the hive. When he reached the hive, he gathered as much honey as he could carry. That day, a very proud mouse walked into the village with a pot of honey from the tall tree. "How did you reach the honey at the top of the tree?" asked the young woman. "It pays sometimes to be small," answered the mouse as he handed her the honey. "Climbing is much easier with less weight to carry." The young woman picked up the mouse and gave him a kiss. From that day forward, the young woman never needed a big, strong antelope or ape. She just needed her clever little mouse. And looks like that's the end of that story. My, these are very short. I'm not much for voices, so I apologize for that. I don't know how I should... when I think of a mouse, I think of a high-pitched, squeaky voice, and that's just not something I'm good at doing. How it sometimes pays... Wait, no, how it pays... Oh yeah, I got it backwards. How it pays sometimes to be small. Pays sometimes to be small. All right. How it pays sometimes to be small, right? Yep, that's what it is. Good. And our list of stories for the night has been updated. And it's on to our next story. The Four Musicians. Get my hand under here. Got that glare coming in from the left. Makes it a little bit more difficult to read the words, but I have plenty enough hard time reading as it is. One day, a donkey overheard his owner talking with another farmer. "I can't find a reason to keep the old donkey around much longer," said the farmer. "He is very old and cannot pull the plow or haul carts. It's time to put him out to pasture." The donkey could not believe his ears. "Hee-haw," said the donkey. "I won't be sent out to pasture. I've always loved to sing, so I'll go to town to become a musician. Hee-haw." As the donkey left the farm, he saw a sad dog and cat by the road. He decided to stop and see what was the matter. "My owner says I'm too old to hunt," said the dog. "He's looking for another dog." I don't even know what I should do for a cat voice. Let's see. My owner says I am too slow to catch mice, said the cat. She is going to get a faster cat. The donkey invited them to come with him. Together they would become musicians. Meow, sang the cat in a fine soprano. Woof, woof, boomed the dog in a deep voice. As they were on their way, the donkey, dog, and cat saw a sad rooster. My owner says I don't get up early enough to wake up the workers, said the rooster. He says he will find an earlier bird. Join us on our trip, said the dog. We want to be musicians, and we will need your strong voice. Nighttime came. The donkey, dog, cat, and rooster had been singing and walking together all day. The rooster began to squawk. I think I see a light shining from the inside of a house. They might have food to share, said the dog. A big juicy bone would be very nice. A big juicy bone sounds very nice. I think a big bowl of milk would be perfect, purred the cat. A plate of corn certainly would hit the spot, crowed the rooster. So the four musicians walked towards the house. The donkey looked through the window for a few minutes. What can you see? Asked the cat. There are four men sitting around a table that is covered with food, Donkey said. What do we do now? Asked the rooster. Should we knock on the door and ask for food? Maybe that was the rooster still saying that. I don't know. The donkey shook his head. Remember, we are going to be musicians, he said. We should practice singing for our supper. The others thought this was a good idea, so they very carefully planned their first concert. The four musicians decided to stand one on top of the other so that everyone could be heard. Even though the four friends had practiced their singing all day, they were still a bit nervous. They wished each other good luck, turned to face the window, and cleared their throats. Never had there been a louder, mightier group effort. The four friends tried to sing better than they ever had before. What they didn't know was that it sounded like hee-haw, woof, meow, cock-a-doodle-doo day. Cock-a-doodle day. Okay. The four musicians also did not know that the gentlemen they were entertaining were robbers. They were hiding out counting their stolen gold. When they heard the loud noise, they looked out the window. They saw what looked like a four-headed beast. Run, 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 one robber yelled, before the four-headed beast gets us. The animals were confused. Why had the men run away? The donkey had the answer. They loved our singing so much. They must be on their way to find more people to hear our concert. So the four musicians, believing that it would be some time before the men came back with a new audience, entered the house and helped themselves to the food at the table. Since they were already inside the house, they agreed it would be best to spend the night there. After all, they didn't want to miss the people who were coming to hear them perform. Soon, their sleepy heads began nodding and their eyes closed. They were all sound asleep when someone tiptoed into the room. The tiptoeing toes belonged to one of the robbers, who was returning for his gold. He struck a match to light a candle, which scared the cat. The cat jumped up and surprised the robber, who tripped over the sleeping dog as he stumbled. The robber fell onto the donkey, who gave him a swift kick into the rooster's sharp claws. The robber was so frightened he ran away and never returned. The four musicians decided to live out their days in the house. They were very happy, giving free concerts and spending all of their new gold. Is that the end of this story? It sure is. That is the end of the four musicians. So let's update our stories. The four musicians. The four musicians. Alright. I think we'll do maybe one more story out of this book for the night. This will be the last story here. The Five Brothers. This is another story I don't think I am familiar with. Once upon a time, there were 5 brothers who all looked exactly alike. They lived with their dear mother in a little house beside the crystal blue sea. The brothers were different from other boys. Their father had been a sorcerer, and they all had special powers. The first brother could slurp up the whole sea and hold it in his mouth. The second brother could see through the back of his head, and the third brother could slip through the tiniest cracks. The fourth brother could make himself quite tall, while the fifth brother could spin like a top. When it came time to fish, the first brother would swallow the sea so they could catch the fish. But one day, he did this when the king was trying to swim. The king liked total privacy because he had giant feet, which he tried to hide from the people. The king was very angry when his feet were exposed to the entire village. He ordered his guards to find the person who had swallowed the sea. The king wanted the offender blindfolded and left alone in the dark woods. The guards found the first brother and led him to the king. He told the king he had to say goodbye to his mother. The king agreed, and the first brother asked the second brother to take his place. The second brother had eyes in the back of his head. He could easily get out of the woods. The guards were very surprised when they saw the second brother walk out of the woods. They captured him and took the sneaky brother to see the angry king. The king ordered the guards to lock the boy inside a box. The second brother pleaded with the king to let him say goodbye to his mother. He relented, and the second brother asked the third brother to take his place. This brother, who could creep through any crack, was locked in the box. He wiggled free and scared the guards silly. The king was angrier than ever. He ordered his guards to take the brother out to the open sea. They were to leave him in the deepest waters. The third brother pleaded with the king to let him say goodbye to his mother. Again, the king agreed. The fourth brother took the third brother's place and went out to sea. Since this brother could stretch his legs so easily, he was able to stand taller than the deepest water. The guards reported back to the king, who was angry, who angrily ordered the guards to throw the brother in the dungeon. Like his brothers before, the fourth brother received permission to say farewell to his mother. He went and asked the fifth brother to take his place in the dark dungeon. Now, the fifth brother, who could spin faster than a top, knew the floor was solid rock, and he needed to go up. He turned and turned, spinning into a blur as he lifted off towards the ceiling. The king was getting ready for bed when the floor began to shake. The king jumped on his bed as the fifth brother spun through the floor. The angry king spluttered and spat and declared that the fifth brother was a demon. A demon. The fifth brother knew he needed to please the king. He looked at the man's giant feet and told the king that he could make his subjects very happy if he used his feet to make mashed potatoes for the entire kingdom. So the king came to know that he, too, could do things that no one else in the world could do. He was very pleased with his feat. Everyone loved his mashed potatoes and lived happily ever after. That is a good story. I liked that. That was very, very funny. Go ahead and put this page marker in there, since that's the last story for this book for the night. I don't know, maybe should I get out the Mother Goose and read a few from Mother Goose? Yeah, we'll do that. Oh, actually, before we do that, I need to write down the story. I forgot to do that. What was this one called? The Five Brothers, that's right. Let's add this to our list of stories for the night. The Five Brothers. And save. Alright. Now we got that updated. We'll go ahead and close the book. We'll get out the Mother Goose. book and read some more of that. Here we go. Our Mother Goose Treasury. And I think, like, these are organized into books as well. And the last time we did Little Boys and Girls. I think that's what we did last time. So this time we'll do Busy Time Rhymes. This is going to be pretty short. Looks like it's only, what's that, 6 stories? And each one of those only takes like not even a minute. So we'll get back to that. Page 127. Busy Time Rhymes. Let's go ahead and bet my page there. We'll add Busy Time Rhymes to our list of what we're reading. Busy. Where is that? Busy. Not spell it right, silly. Busy Time Rhymes. Rhymes. All right. Save. Busy Time Rhymes. To market. To market, to market, to buy a fat pig. Home again, jiggity jig. To market, to buy a fat hog. Home again, jiggity jog. I like these rhymey things. I like rhymes. These are so great. This book is chock full of good stuff. Willy boy. Willy boy, where are you going? I will go with you, if that I may. I don't know, how does this rhyme go? I've already messed this up, it seems like. Willy boy, where are you going? I will go with you, if that I may. I'm going to the meadow to see them a-mowing. I'm going to help them to make the hay. I think that's how it goes. Willy boy, where are you going? I will go with you, if that I may. I'm going to the meadow to see them a-mowing. I'm going to help them to make the hay. I think that one's too complicated for me. The Old Woman of Leeds. There was an old woman. Nope. How's this going? There was an old woman of Leeds who spent her time in good deeds. She worked for the poor till her fingers were sore, this pious old woman of Leeds. I think that's how that goes. Not too bad. A little easier than the previous one. Peter Piper. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. A peck of pickled peppers Peter Piper picked. If Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, where's the peck of pickled peppers Peter Piper picked? Good question. Sweep. Sweep, sweep, chimney sweep, from the bottom to the top. I don't think that's good. How? Sweep, sweep, chimney sweep, from the bottom to the top. Sweep it all up, chimney sweep, from the bottom to the top. Yeah, I don't know that one. I'm no good with that one. Jack and Jill. Jack and Jill went up the hill to fetch a pail of water. Jack fell down and broke his crown, and Jill came tumbling after. Up Jack got, and home did trot, as fast as he could caper. Yeah. He went to bed to mend his head with vinegar and brown paper. Well, that's what you think's gonna cure your bonk on your head. By all means, I don't know what vinegar and brown paper's gonna do for, breaking your crown. Wow. And that's the last of that one. That was just a quick one, just a couple minutes, some quick fun rhymes. And the next one will be I love you rhymes. We'll do that the next bedtime story stream. We'll read some stories again and then do the rhymes at the end. Next time. All right. That's it for that. Go ahead and put the book down. And we will also move my giant mat here. Whoop. And we'll go off of the desk camera to this one. All right. So I hope you have a very good night and that you enjoyed the stories we read together. And until next time, I hope you sleep well and take care of yourself out there. Bye-bye.